Well, Sam, Happy New Year. I guess it's a little late in January to be saying Happy New Year, but this is the first time we're getting to hang out.
Feels like baseball's coming, so it's Happy New Year.
Yeah, that's a great approach. I like that. I like that a lot. No, we're excited here on Behind the Braves. We're starting a new season, obviously, new year. We're really excited about the season ahead. But you and I are starting something new on Behind the Braves this year. This is going to be the first edition of this new venture that an adventure that we're going on this year and hopefully beyond. Once a month, about once a month, you're going to join me here on Behind the Braves, and you're going to give me a Braves history lesson, essentially. Me and all the listeners. We're going to delve into a different topic every month, and we're all going to learn. Me and the listeners are all going to learn a lot about it. So I'd like to think I know a lot about Braves history, but then as I've gotten to know you over the years, I realize how little I know. And I always love talking to you because you give me so much interesting background and just information about this team that I and all of our listeners love. So we thought, what better way to kick this series off than with talking about when the Braves came to Atlanta, because fans didn't know, 60 years ago, 1966, right, the Braves moved from Milwaukee to Atlanta. I will admit, I mean, I'm obviously aware that we were in Boston. We had a bunch of different names. Then we were in Milwaukee for a time, not in the grand scheme of things, not very long.
Right.
How many years was it?
13 years in Milwaukee.
13, okay. So Milwaukee. So in the grand scheme of things, not a very long time. And then came to Atlanta. I've seen some pictures from when the team got here and the parade. And I know Bill Bartholomew was like a big part of it. But I kind of just gave you most of my knowledge of it right there in that one long run-on sentence.
Yeah.
So let's just start. Like, how did that come to be? I mean, especially since the team wasn't in Milwaukee very long. So what were the factors that led to both departing Milwaukee and then Atlanta being the choice?
Yeah, it's kind of fun to celebrate 60 years. The team was in Boston for 82 years. Milwaukee for 13, so 60 in Atlanta has gotten some ground there. But yeah, we moved to Milwaukee in 1953, mostly because we were losing ground to the Red Sox in Boston. The Red Sox had a better ballpark, had better players, had more success, and so the fans went there, and there wasn't enough fan support to stay, so that's how we ended up in Milwaukee. We're great fan support. We moved to Milwaukee in 53. They were so happy to have a major league team. And so things went well for a number of years. The team was really good too. The entire time we were in Milwaukee, never had a losing season.
The whole 13 years?
Whole 13 years. We were above 500 every year. Barely missed the pennant in 56. Won the pennant and the World Series of 57. Won the pennant and lost in the World Series of 58 in 7 games. And then missed by 1 game in 59. So we're a handful of games away from 4 consecutive years.
And for fans that don't know, just to back up a little bit, you say, just barely missed the pennant. Now we've got a lot of teams make the postseason.
Sure.
A lot more than used to. In those days, how many were there? Not many.
No, there wasn't even divisions back then. If you finished the season in first place, you were the National League champs. You went straight to the World Series. So that was it. It was one team from each league advanced to the postseason. So it was tough. But again, just missed it by a game in 56. Actually finished tied for the pennant in 59 and had to do a playoff with the Dodgers to see who goes to the World Series. So really good success. But as we moved into the 60s, things started to change a little bit. Milwaukee was not a huge market to begin with. And the Minnesota Twins got an expansion team, or got a relocation in 1961. And so that bit into the footprint of what would be Milwaukee's fan base. Chicago's really nearby. They had 2 teams. Detroit's not far. So there wasn't a lot of ground to draw the fan base from. And so attendance started to dwindle there. It was one factor. Another one was the Packers were the kings of Wisconsin in those years. They were winning all the NFL championships. And so
all of Vince Lombardi years.
Yeah, that's all of their championship seasons. So they were the kings. So the Braves were playing, a little bit second fiddle in that regard as well. The big stars of the 50s that had all the success started to age a little bit. Warren Spahn was getting toward the end of his career. Lou Burdett, Joe Adcock, all the staples, Del Crandall from those championship seasons were getting toward the end of their careers. And so rather than being a pennant winner or right at it, now we're finishing 3rd or 4th place, still above 500, still competitive, but not quite the same success. And the number one rule in baseball is if you win, people come, and if you don't, they don't. So that also contributed. to the attendance dwindling. And in 1961, the team was sold. The Perini family had owned the team and moved them from Boston to Milwaukee. They sold the team in 61 to the LaSalle Corporation, which was headed by Bill Bartholomew. And they started looking at the books with their new acquisition and figuring out we're not making money. They were also looking ahead. They could tell that TV was going to be the future, even in 1961.
Really?
That the TV business was coming, and Milwaukee had no TV market. And so the idea was, this is not, we're gonna be on the short end. And so they started looking for solutions for how they're going to fix this issue. County Stadium was fine. It wasn't a great location, wasn't a great ballpark. It was actually built for the minor league Milwaukee Brewers when we moved in.
No kidding.
Then Milwaukee had a minor league team for 60 years before we moved in, called the Milwaukee Brewers. And so we actually moved into a minor league park and then kind of built it up in the 13 years we were in Milwaukee.
That's what I was going to ask, because I remember County Stadium when it was when it was before it was demolished. I remember what it looked like. And for people who've maybe seen the movie Major League, the first one, that movie is filmed actually at County Stadium.
Yeah,
if
so,
I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes. So,
obviously in the movie it's in Cleveland, but that's Milwaukee's.
Right. So County Stadium was brand new for us when we moved in 53, but it wasn't designed for us. It was designed to be a minor league park.
Okay.
When we moved out after the 65 season, the Brewers came in 5 years later, and they played in County Stadium all the way up until their current ballpark. So it lasted, but it wasn't like a jewel or anything to draw attendance was the major issue. So while all of that was going on in Milwaukee, in Atlanta, Ivan Allen Jr. was the mayor of Atlanta. And he actually ran for mayor on the campaign that we're going to make Atlanta the biggest city in the South. And he had a 6-point plan, like all politicians do, but he had a 6-point plan. And one of them was, the key to making us the biggest city in the South is we need professional sports. And so that was his ambition. He's going to set about to bring professional sports to Atlanta. And the timing really was impeccable for him. Had some community support. There's a guy named Arthur Montgomery who was the head of Coca-Cola Company, and he was in on getting this job done. A guy named Mills Lane was the head of a local bank that was going to finance all of this. I had support from the governor, Carl Sanders, and so there was a team that made it their ambition to, if you build it, they will come, and they did it.
At that point in American history, as far as professional sports teams in the South, and I think everybody maybe has their own definitions of where the
South
lines are of where the South is.
Yep.
But what was it, the Dolphins in Florida? I mean, what did you have at that point? Or I don't even know my NFL history very well.
So for baseball, there's nothing. Like,
right.
Baltimore is as far south as.
No, see, I'm from Virginia. I would not count Baltimore as
nor would anyone else.
Yeah,
no, Baltimore, and then Cincinnati. That's your upper ring there for as far south as baseball went, and then St. Louis. So you got kind of when baseball started, it was all in New England. So it used to be when they said they took a West Coast trip, they meant going to St. Louis and Chicago. Like, that's how far west baseball went.
Okay.
And so when the Braves moved to Milwaukee, that was the start of westward expansion. Dodgers and Giants followed closely after, moving from New York to California. And that opened it up a little bit, but the South was still completely closed. And Atlanta was not the biggest city in the South at that time, in the 60s. Memphis was bigger. Birmingham was bigger.
Birmingham was bigger than Atlanta?
It was, yeah. And so the idea for Ivan Allen Jr. was, we want to be the capital of the South. We want to be the biggest city, and professional sports was his ticket. So he went about looking for a team to try to, he campaigned, we're going to build a ballpark, and then we'll get a team. Now, you got a good politician when you can get a ballpark built without a team to put in it. In fact, he used to say all the time that we're going to build a ballpark on land we don't own with money we don't have for a team we haven't signed. And that got him elected. He did. They went about to build Atlanta Stadium, is what it was called at the time. We didn't become Atlanta Fulton County Stadium until 1976, but in 1966 it was called Atlanta Stadium. They began construction on it in 1964, and it was done in less than a year. It took from groundbreaking till the dedication day was 359 days.
Holy cow.
$18 million they built Atlanta Stadium.
How does that? I'm probably opening a can of worms there.
Yeah,
How?
I don't do construction, but I mean, think about this ballpark. Truist Park was an amazing architectural feat from the time we announced we were moving until we threw the first pitch was under 3 years.
Yeah.
So a very ambitious project. Then they had to find a team to put in it, and there's some story behind that as well. Initially, as they were looking for a team, the first connection they made was with Charlie Finley, who was the owner of the Kansas City A's.
Okay.
And Charlie Finley was actively looking to get out of Kansas City, wanted to move. So very secretive. They brought him into Atlanta, drove him around, showed him the future site, and really sold him on the vision that you could have professional sports in the South. And Charlie Finley and Ivan Allen made a deal. They made a deal. They're moving the A's to Atlanta. And we were that close to being the Atlanta A's all these years. The only thing that held it up was to move the franchise. You had to get approval from the other American League owners, and the other American League owners voted it down.
Really? How come?
Nobody really knows. The story is not really confirmed, but everybody says it's because they hated Charlie Finley.
Okay.
And it was just, he was not a popular owner. The other owners didn't like him. And so they voted it down just to stick it to him. That was
that was why I asked, because I'm like, I feel like this was something just amongst the owners.
He was kind of, your maverick owner. He had all kinds of crazy ideas. He was going to introduce yellow baseballs and, all kinds of weird things that the traditionals did not like. And so it was really the prevailing story is the other owners just didn't like him. And so they voted it just to stick it to him.
Okay.
And so that held up. But, once they voted it down, there was no appeal. That was it. And so the Atlanta guys were devastated because now they got a ballpark. They were that close to having a team, and now they didn't. So it's back to the drawing board for them. So Ivan Allen Jr. and his crew actually went to Cleveland for the All-Star game, where everybody gathers. We know very well all Major League Baseball gathers at the All-Star game, and they took their little contingent to Cleveland and made their pitch that we're going to have a ballpark and we've got a city and we want a team, and that's where they made their connection with Mr. Bartholomew.
Okay. So that's where it began. So what, forgive me, what year was that All-Star game?
That was 63.
That's 63.
And so the idea is we're going to have this ballpark built and have it ready to go. And so once they connected with Mr. Bartholomew, things started moving pretty quickly about him moving. No such thing as secrets in the world. And so word gets out that, the Braves might be moving, and the ownership group had to deflect all of that all during that season. But once they announced they were going to move, we were supposed to have the Braves here for opening day in 1965. That was the plan. The ballpark was going to be ready. We were going to move the Braves for the 1965 season. But Milwaukee County sued the Braves and the National League to keep the Braves in Wisconsin. It was an antitrust suit. And of course, they filed it in Wisconsin. And a Wisconsin judge, of course, ruled in favor of Milwaukee County. And so handed down an injunction that the Braves couldn't leave. And so they had to play the 1965 season, had a lame duck season in Milwaukee in 1965.
What was from what you've researched and read, what was that like in that last season there of like attendance and vibes, if you will, in our current?
So again, there's two sides to this. The folks in Atlanta, again, are crushed because they did all that work to get the ballpark built in less than a year, and now they've just had the rug pulled again. So they're not going to have a team in 65. And no matter how good a politician you are, when you have all that money invested and you don't have a return, that's difficult. So the no team to put in the ballpark, this brand new ballpark in 65. And on the other side, you've got a team saying we're leaving, and fans typically don't respond well to the, well, we're going to give you a nice goodbye. So in 1965, we actually played 3 exhibition games at the end of the spring training in Atlanta Stadium as the Milwaukee Braves.
Interesting.
Against the Detroit Tigers. We're there in our Milwaukee uniforms. Great attendance for all 3 games. The fans in Atlanta are ready for a team. And it was, here's a taste. Now you're going to have to wait a year. But those exhibition games, it's a good, fun trivia question. People ask you who hit the first home run ever at Atlanta Stadium. They want you to say Joe Torre, who hit one opening day of 66, but in the exhibition game we played the Tigers, it's actually Tommy Aaron.
Really?
Hank's little brother hit the first home run in that ballpark. So we played 3 exhibition games. And then the Atlanta Crackers actually played their home games in 1965 in brand new Atlanta Stadium as opposed to Ponce de Leon Park because we got a ballpark and nothing to put in it.
Yeah, and they were the Crackers were what level were they?
They didn't have a AAA at the time, but it was essentially the equivalent. They were the highest level.
And how did it work? Were they affiliated with anybody, or
they were affiliated over the years with a bunch of different teams? The Yankees for part of their time,
Okay.
Cardinals for part, the Braves for part of their time.
Okay.
But by that time, they were more independent. And that was really when the Braves were moving to town. That was going to be the end of the Crackers. You can't really support both. And so, but they did use this giant Major League Stadium for their last season in 60. It was kind of a fun way to send them out. They'd been our only team in town for 60 years at that point. So that was a neat way to send them off. The Braves actually played 2 exhibition games during the year at Atlanta Stadium when they had an off day. It was consecutive Mondays in June. They flew down and played one game against the White Sox. Can you imagine doing that today? Like now everything's so regimented. But back then, we played an exhibition game with the White Sox and one with the Twins on consecutive Mondays in June in Atlanta.
I know. I'm just sitting here thinking, my mind is spinning. I'm like, how did they get everybody involved to even agree to that? Or maybe there wasn't really much choice back then.
Again, the ownership group was all about, we knew we're moving. This is going to be our new home. So anything we can do to get the fans excited for the product that's coming. And, in the 60s, you could do that.
Because I've got two questions
Sure.
that I want to ask. And you can answer whichever you want first. But one, the Crackers played in the Atlanta Stadium for that season. Was there anything else what else were they using that stadium for? I only ask because I know I've seen pictures in our online library.
Yep.
I don't know what years.
It was 65.
The Beatles?
The Beatles came to town in August.
Yeah,
And the Beatles played Atlanta Stadium before the Braves did. Actually, not because we had the exhibition games, but before the Braves ever played their first official home game, the Beatles played Atlanta in August of 65.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I would imagine that drew a bit of a crowd.
I suspect they did all right there. Yes.
Okay, that was why I asked. So that was one. And then two, so when did the court case and all that, like how did that all shake out and when did it shake out?
So after the judge in Wisconsin ruled, handed down the injunction that they had to play in 65, the Braves in the National League appealed. The case actually ended up going all the way to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And actually, the Braves played opening day in 1966 with the court case still pending.
Really?
They said, we're going...
Opening day here in Atlanta.
Atlanta in 1966, yes.
Okay.
So the final ruling did not come down until the 66 season was underway. A little bit of a gamble there.
I'd say.
But the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Braves that they could move. And then Milwaukee County appealed to the United States Supreme Court, who declined to hear the case by a 4-3 vote. And that was the end of it. So it was early in the 66 season. And the deal they worked out was we're going to leave town, but the National League will work with Major League Baseball to get Milwaukee another team. That was the idea. We'll help get that done. That's how the Brewers ended up there, within a handful of years.
Yeah. And then you said, 5 years later? About
Brewers came in 71, so yeah.
Yeah, pretty shortly thereafter. Okay. Well, and they're still there, and we're still here, so that all worked out.
It's good.
So I've seen pictures of the welcome parade, I guess you could call it, with our team here, but what was the reception when the team was officially here in 66? What was that like?
Yeah, well, again, it's really interesting for guys like us who are used to what way things work now. The Welcome to Atlanta parade was on opening day.
Really?
So we're going to play a baseball game that night, and during the day, we're going to have all the players ride through town. I mean, that's a logistical thing that we don't deal with these days. But yeah, 250,000 people came to downtown Atlanta to watch the players ride through in their convertibles on the way to the ballpark for the game that night. Huge reception. Hank Aaron and Eddie Matthews are the stars of the team. So they were the ones that kind of stood out, but that was the original Welcome to Atlanta moment, was the parade through downtown.
Glad you mentioned Eddie Matthews there. I don't know trivia like you do, but if somebody were to ask me like what's my favorite Braves trivia question, it's always what's the only guy to play for the Boston Braves, the Milwaukee Braves, and Atlanta Braves, and it's Eddie Matthews, because he was, correct me if I'm wrong, rookie year was last year in Boston.
That's correct.
Most of his career in Milwaukee, and then last year with the Braves was the first year in Atlanta, right?
That's right. So 66 was his last year
Okay.
as a player for the Braves. We ended up trading him after that year. He spent a little time in Houston and Detroit, and then came back and managed the Braves. He was actually the manager in 74 when Hank broke the record. Eddie was his manager.
Yeah.
But Eddie had a little history in Atlanta. He had played for the Crackers
Really?
before he was called up to the Boston Braves. So like 1950, 51, he was an Atlanta Cracker. So he had some experience in Atlanta before the team moved.
Obviously, the Braves becoming the first team in the South, particularly at that point in history,
Mhm.
culturally was a huge deal. And then having its biggest star, Hank Aaron, and what was going on in the country at the time was a big thing. And I'm sure that wasn't easy for Hank at times. But just what can you tell us about what Hank maybe said or his thoughts on when the team moved? Because I know he loved Milwaukee. I know reading his autobiography years ago, I know he loved Milwaukee, moving to the South. And then, of course, he eventually, as we all know, he became, I mean, he could be the king of Atlanta. He really is. So
Yeah. So, Hank's from Alabama. So the South wasn't foreign to him, good and bad. He knew the history, but he also, there's some level of comfort going back home, as it were, what we call Braves country. That helped. Eddie, having played in Atlanta, helped, right? He could tell his teammates, we're not going some crazy place. Like, I've been there. It's good. But there were some concerns, sure. The civil rights movement was big in the 60s. Bill Bartholomew actually said that Martin Luther King Jr. was a big help to him.
really,
That he met with him. They talked through, concerns. They talked through plans for how we're going to introduce this team to all of the city. That the city, with all of its diversity, is going to embrace this team, and how are we going to do that? And so, we celebrate Martin Luther King Day. That was a big deal. That he met with Mr. Bartholomew and helped him make plans for how we're going to make this a smooth transition.
that's amazing. I never knew that. Wow. So what was that first season like? I know that a team on the field wasn't great, I don't believe, but just the I would think the excitement of a new team in town and all that had to be pretty big.
Sure. Yeah. So, anytime you're the new game in town, you want to make an impression. First game of the season, opening day, 1966, we play the Pirates. It was April 12th, 1966. That game went 13 innings. How's that for a welcome to Atlanta? Obviously, if you got an extra inning game, it's a close game. We lost that game. Willie Stargell hit a 2-run homer in the 13th inning to give the Pirates the 2-run lead. Joe Torre hit his second homer of the game in the bottom of the 13th to draw it close, but we ended up losing by a run there in that opening day. The other story of that game was Tony Cloninger was our opening day starting pitcher. He went all 13 innings. On opening day of the season.
So he was stretched out. He was getting ready.
Not, actually.
Okay. All right.
And that became a big deal because invariably he had arm trouble right after that, and that ultimately cost manager Bobby Bragan his job.
All right. Well,
How's that for a kid?
that was just a little side fun follow up, man. How about that?
That was Cloninger was our ace, and in those days you could pitch a complete game on opening day was no big deal, but 13 innings in the cold. It was not a great move, but it was a big game. It's a bigger game than every opening day you want to win because you've been waiting so long for it. But it was the first day in the city, and it was probably a little too much emphasis put on it, and there was a price to pay for that. But it was a great game to welcome the team to Atlanta. We were okay in '66. We weren't bad, and we got good pretty quickly. We won the division in '69 a couple of years later. So the core was there for a successful team.
I'm following up now because we were talking about earlier when there weren't divisions. When did division play?
'69.
It was 69 was the first.
69 was the first year they went to division play. So they had a National League East and National League West, which of course you put Atlanta in the West because.
Why not?
Ultimately, they did that because they wanted to preserve old rivalries. So the Braves had a long history with the Dodgers and Giants. So to keep them in the same division, we were in the West.
Stayed that way till 95.
Cubs and Cardinals had a long history. They wanted to be in the same division, so they were in the East. Which sense does that make? So yes, actually, we played in the National League West all the way up until we split into 3 divisions, and then we're corrected back to the East.
Well, it's just an amazing story of how we got here, how the team came here. I mean, there's so much there I didn't know. Isn't it funny too? You look back at history, I think, but not just history of sports or politics or nations or whatever, even my own just personal life. I sometimes look back and think about how one little thing goes differently, and how the course of history is so drastically, utterly, completely changed. And
Picturing yourself as the Atlanta A's, is that what you're?
That's what I'm sitting here thinking. I'm like, God, they could have been the Atlanta A's, but then if they're the Atlanta A's, then everything it was not assumed then that. Well, Hank Aaron's not here to break the record. Who knows? Maybe Ted Turner doesn't buy it. Everything's different.
And we're wearing green.
And we're wearing green. That just seems weird.
That's not good
It's not, it's a good looking color. I love the A's colors, but it's
foreign. Yep.
yeah, I'm red, white, blue. So, well, Sam, this has been an excellent first edition of our show, our recurring series.
Yeah. So when we think about the 60 years too, all the things that's happened in 60 years, we can talk about the, great games. Maybe we'll do that later on in the year and the things, big events in those 60 years. But, we've had over 1,000 players since we moved to Atlanta. I think we're at, before opening day this year, we're at 1,071 players have played for the team since we moved to Atlanta. Some really good ones too.
Yeah.
We are something like 18% of those have made the Hall of Fame, or not 18%, sorry, 18 players, which is about 2%. Almost 2% of our players that have played in Atlanta have made the Hall of Fame, which is almost double the average for Major League Baseball.
It's amazing. Well, I'm hoping you and I are sitting here taping this. Once this comes out, we'll already know. You and I are taping this in a few hours from now. We're going to find out if we're going to have another addition to the Hall of Fame in Andrew Jones. I certainly hope we will. But
yeah, be silly to make a prediction when it comes out. Everybody will know, but it's going to be really close.
I think so.
I think it's going to be within 5 votes either way.
We're all going to be tuned in and watching. It's going to be amazing.
So that's big for the night. We're going to win our 5,000th game in Atlanta this year.
Really? Okay. How many we got?
We're 74 wins away.
Okay.
All right. So you can write me down. We'll win a 4 this year.
If it doesn't happen,
so yeah, it's on me.
It's all.
We're gonna win our 5,000th game in Atlanta history this year. We're playing at a 520 winning percentage over our entire history, which is playoff baseball, which is really impressive when you consider the 70s. We didn't do our part, right? The 70s were really bleak, so we made a lot of ground.
Didn't really do our part either.
The back half of the 80s were bad, and so that run in the 90s, our 14 consecutive, and the run recently where we've made the postseason, 7 of the last 8. That's the kind of run that corrects. And so playing at a 520 percentage, we've made 26 postseasons in 60 years. The only teams in baseball with more are the Yankees and Dodgers.
That's pretty good company.
Yeah, we've had a really good run, and we feel like we're in a spot where we're excited about the future.
Well, I would say for everybody listening, you can learn so much from Sam as I always do whenever I talk to him. Make sure if you're interested, Sam does historian tours here at the ballpark, which are really, really cool, unique experiences. Sam has all of this incredible memorabilia and just pieces of history in our archives that are part of these tours, and it's a really incredible thing. Braves.com/tours for not just Sam's tours, but ballpark tours, the Moonlight tours, everything. Yeah, definitely go check that.
We do tours every day of the year. It's always available. So if you come to a ballpark tour, it's a great way to get to know the ballpark without being around 40,000 other people. We do mix in a lot of our team history with our regular tours. And then for your diehards who want to go deep, come hang out with me at the historian tours. All that information is at the same place, braves.com/tours.
Braves.com/tours. Check it out. All right, Sam. Well, awesome, man. And let's do it again next month.
Let's do it again.